I was surprisingly good even.
Stay again.
I suppose I feel surprisingly good even. Good day,
Oh, good.
Penny.
Hi, Tammy. Mm.
Hey,
Was that a little flat, Tammy?
I'm just listening. I don't want to interrupt.
Okay. We've only just
But I
arrived,
always,
so yeah. Go, Niels.
yeah, I always enjoy seeing familiar names, especially with people who share a bit.
Mm.
I sort of sprinted or tried to sprint home in time to catch this. But no, still catching my breath.
I had trouble hearing what you said then. You spent time what?
I just sprinted home
Oh, sprinted
to
home.
be
Right,
here
gotcha.
until yeah.
Mm. Yeah, oh, I'm glad you're here. Yeah.
Niels, what type of music do you play? I see several guitars, and also what do you attribute feeling good to?
Um, I like to think I have a rather uh, undifferentiated view of music that I play, but of course I very much enjoy, like for example, hearing guitars and songs. I think my favorite song these days is, for example, "Freebird," which Americans tend to know, I assume, more than Germans. Um, but it's very hard to play on guitar because they had three guitars and the bass guitar on stage when they played that. And recently I tried to somehow create an arrangement to get as much of that or recreate as much of that on a single instrument as I can. But especially that guitar with the that is seen right here in the background. I found that in a sort of second-hand market or thrift shop is what you'd call it. And it was like a real great find because of course it was very cheap, but it's an absolutely, it must have been a crazy expensive guitar at some point. It has these immense patterns in the wood, for example. I'm not sure if it's really translating to camera, but this
Yeah,
is
beautiful.
heavily striped like a tiger. Uh, yeah. On that front in particular, I enjoy playing very simple songs and things like "Hurt" by Johnny Cash. They sound amazing on it.
Is it a 12 string?
Yeah, very unique sound. Not really all too familiar on it. How to play them, so I just play them like any normal instrument, and it's fine.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So you play piano, Tammy, do you?
Yeah, that's my main instrument. But in the last 10 years, I took up the cello. So that's been more what I've been focusing on. But
Challenging cello.
It's
absolutely.
the cello has these very, very broad, wide strings, right?
Yeah.
I imagine you can feel them. You can really feel them, all the vibrations in your fingertips when you play that.
Yeah. And yeah, and it is no frets. So that causes me to fret, shall we say, because as a musician, the most embarrassing thing you could do is be off. And
Yeah,
there's every note you're not exactly. So for a perfectionist, it's uh it's quite challenging, but it's still really fun. Like the piano is incredible. The piano is incredible. It's so rich and full, but you're with your back towards people. With the cello, I get to like sit, I can sing, I can talk, I can play with others in harmony, like with violins. It's some of my favorite things. Yeah.
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, and sometimes we do classical arrangements of pop stuff, and then I play with my sister on guitar also and other kinds of instruments. But yeah.
That is so cool to hear.
So here's a question. So because I do this my music with AI, and I have zero talent. I mean the most the most I ever got was to join a ukulele group for a while. So very amateurish kind of stuff. So I mean, I watched you play one night, Nils. I couldn't hear you, but you were playing with your mute on, and wow, you were right into it. Like I could see. So I take it that there is an immense uh, involvement in expression when you play like that. But of course, the other side of it, or the other way to look at it, is that music gives you the option to evoke emotion in people. So, of course, when you look at the music that gets added to movies and everything, it's all meant to be evocative stuff. Right? So it's not about the expression of the musician at all. Well, maybe it is. I don't know that one. But there's that. Can you get that? I'm looking at two different sides of music production, music creation, music expression.
I feel like one of their sites has an added layer of um, sort of consuming or consumerism to it. Like
Yes.
what I have in mind is like a very maybe even cheaply made tearjerker movie where, of course, you can elicit a reaction with just enough sad music, and it's always maybe sometimes forced,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
it's, it does have this character of, I don't know.
Yeah. So one person I work with from time to time, her partner in what she does, he plays for silent movies, plays the piano for silent movies. So that's a pretty wide open thing, isn't it? Wow, I can imagine, how, I mean, I just immediately think of Buster Keaton movies and things like that, where you have fast running music and all sorts of things that you shape what people feel by what you express there. It's a different kind of thing, isn't it? So again, it is what you say. It is consumerism in a way. Yeah. So with the music that I do, with the songs that I produce, I'm just trying to sneak in a message at a subconscious level, right? So it's about the lyrics as much as it is about the music itself. But sometimes I produce 6 or 8 songs with different genres to try and have an effect, and in the end I delete all of them bar one, and the one that I settled for just seems to suit most, but never as much as I would like to. Yeah.
Can feel that. Yeah. So for example, like sometimes you misplay a thing and it sounds like it transcends something you couldn't have predicted or imagined before. And then what I can see is like sometimes I find myself just practicing a 3-second loop for like 5 hours at a time to just sort of get this right. And with these non-recorded things, it's of course you stop playing and it's over. You will even like lose that perfection, and it comes back as but whatever I play, for example, playing it for a friend, whatever I played to you just now, that's not what I heard one day.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
not how it could
Yeah.
be. And it's sort of desperate expression and just never quite reaching the
Yeah.
sort of promise that is somewhere
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Yeah. But what I hear from you, Tammy, is that it's very much a connection with other people. Would that be accurate?
That's very interesting that you should say that. Yeah, I mean, I've had different times in my life where music has been different things for me, but I really, yeah, especially with the cello, um, it is about making music together, connection, camaraderie, the mood, the upliftment, and then bringing that to others when we can. So yeah, it really is about creating like I don't know, just in other words, there's potential beauty. All of us can play, and yet we never get together. And so to actually make it happen and sit there and, and then there's all the little annoyances, the this, the that. But when we actually get into it and it's just we're silent and all present and listening, it's yeah, it's just a joy unlike others. And it's I've had to it's go through a lot of trouble to get there. So it's not always like it's very hard. I have to fight for it or something, or we have to have an occasion worthy of the people agreeing to get together. And it's just happening less and less as people get older, move away. So I've been finding less opportunities. But when it does happen, it's just, yeah. And there is that thing that I'm not sure if it's exactly what you were saying, but always like there's a disappointment. It never quite is perfect. Your finger will play this or that, or so there's always that. And I was trying to get away from it because the piano I learned with these Russian teachers who were so strict and so it wasn't pleasant. And so I think when in my 30s, I was like, oh, I'll switch to cello and go about it a different way. And I mostly taught myself. I took a lesson here or there, but and I thought, oh, I'll be much freer with it. But it was very painful physically, especially at first, and also painful the fact that every note was not how I wanted, and I had to really work at just sometimes the tone just comes out and just being able to enjoy it no matter what comes out because it's never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Every note is a variation. It's like its own thing. It's never yeah, especially if you start late and stuff, but it's just enjoying the actual sound of it. And with other people, it's much easier because the harmony always makes it sound, I guess it's like life or whatever. Like you're always waiting for the perfect moment to be able to enjoy, relax, and be happy, but you have to be to appreciate what comes out, to appreciate it and enjoy the unique sounds. Every time you play it, it'll come out slightly different or slightly this.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway.
But
just
You
going on
see
and on.
sometimes on YouTube, you'll see these, I don't know what they call them, but they play in public, and you'll have one person start playing and then somebody else will turn up with a different instrument and start playing. And the crowd really gets into the music. Now, obviously, the crowd doesn't hear what the musician hears. So the
Yeah.
musician who's trying to create it has something in their mind, whereas the crowd is, how can I put it, moving to a different tune. Is that too punny?
I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. But the joy, the sharing is just absolutely brilliant, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I really love. Yeah, to practice with other people and then to be able to bring that to others. It's really,
Yeah. Whereas
yeah.
I imagine that with classical music, a great import is put on being accurate.
Yes. Um,
So
I
much
mean, with
more
any
fitting with
music.
your Russian tutors.
Yeah, and with anything, but I mean, you cannot, it's just gorgeous when you go through a piece of Bach or something. It's unbelievable. It's really,
Yeah. Well, presumably Bach and people like him knew how to evoke emotions in people, and that's what a lot of that music is about, eh?
I don't think they much thought about that or
yeah,
Okay.
thought that way.
it's
I mean, tell me,
different.
Hugo.
No, you say first, Neil.
We can't play that ball back and forth, Tammy. But yeah, but what you really is like, imagine you're stretching, for example, and you feel sort of, for a moment, you stretched sort of just the right muscle, and it felt refreshingly interesting to just stretch that muscle, and then you just sort of try to recreate that movement, find out exactly what evoked that very interesting body sensation, or that very sort of right way of stretching your body, and it does sort of more feel like that, like for you sort of work out something, you sort of, it's a bit maybe like sculpting something out, and just you recreate sort of space, you recreate a sort of it takes you away from being a human for a while if you're really
Mm,
in that space where you sort of shape something very abstract, and you do not know really what you're shaping, but you have that compass of this is where it feels right, and you just sort of keep working in that direction. And this is really like um when you do an exercise and find a very interesting muscle group you're stretching, and you want to feel that muscle group again in your body.
mm. But like, I mean, I have my experience with golf and with bowls are the two sports that I do, two things that I do, and it's the biggest joke is that you do a really good one, whether it be hit a ball with the golf stick or roll a bowling ball. You do a really good one, and somebody will say, "That was great, do it again." And you just crack up laughing because no matter how hard you try, you can't do it exactly the same one again. And I'm imagining that it's this kind of level of looking, once you do crack it, once you do experience what it is you want, how do you know what it is that you've done that did it? Is that a constant move in the direction for recreation?
Sometimes you never find out. Never, even if it's like
Yeah,
obviously
I
just
get that.
turns, but
Yeah.
I have like one recording where I just practiced over and over again something, and then for one split seconds I hit a tone, and I never ever figured out what it was, and I had to stop like trying to recreate it, or I found myself stopping to recreate it because it's just so frustrating, and it sounded like mm,
Mm,
you can really obsess into these things, which does feel at times great. But also, I would love to hear Tammy's interpretation of that. It's just Just talking about it is so, it does something, you know?
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. Well, this latest question that you guys were talking about recreating and stuff. Um, yeah, I sometimes wonder how people become professional musicians. And I think some people just have more technical proficiency. In other words, with my singing, with my playing, it varies so much for me day to day, depending on my mental state, my body state, I'm very, very different. And I once spoke to my voice teacher and I'm like, how do you become a professional singer? She was a gorgeous singer. And she said, it's just people that their 80% is also good enough. So when they're not feeling their best or whatever, it's still professional level. And but I think also perfectionism has stopped me from a lot more performing and things because I think, oh my God, that was terrible. And in the meantime, I have a family member's spouse who keeps sending me inspiration and saying, why aren't you on YouTube? Why aren't you performing? I want you to break out and do stuff with your music. It's so amazing. And there's so many people out there that get a million views and in other words encouraging me, and everyone else in my family will kind of roll their eyes and be like, no, 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 you're not good at, like, in other words, because how we hear it from knowing what it should sound like or whatever and how other people hear it is very different. And also there's always going to be people that are critical or think it's good or bad or whatever, but if you just go out and bring the joy, you get to whatever level you get. And some people are perfect at the technical stuff and some people just bring a certain kind of atmosphere. Every musician has their own, like when I was teaching piano to two brothers in my family, in my extended family, and they would kind of compare to each other and like compete, and I would quash it right away and I would say everyone has their own bag, different finger size, width, different personality. One is good at rhythm,
Mm.
one is more
Absolutely.
feel
Yeah.
of it, and so I would just totally nip that in the bud. And so everyone brings a different gift. And yeah, and about the consistency thing, I don't know, to me every time things come out different and I always wish for that, whatever, but things also do get smoother with time. But about the the Bach and stuff like that, I think a lot of them were at those times were first doing for religious reasons and then for church, and they had jobs with it. They had to produce stuff for Sunday, and but also I think it was trying to tap into and convey and express or form something that is in a different realm or something. In other words, it's to bring, I don't know, something sublime or something like this. And it creates a certain atmosphere, as we were all saying. The other day I was listening to something online and there was music in the background. It was making me all upset. And I'm like, oh, the video is making me upset. But no, I just muted and put on the words and I'm totally fine. So,
Mm.
um, but yeah, something about that aspirational or I don't know, something not quite able to touch, just something really gorgeous and uplifting. And there was also strict rules around life and religion and also about musical harmony and stuff. So putting that all together into something, just to create something
Mm.
that you can't even speak of, just something that brings those
Yeah.
moments like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, just silent, gorgeous, glorious presence. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wholehearted agreement.
Hmm.
So when I was playing the ukulele in the ukulele group, there was never a question of how good we are. It was always a question of how much fun we were having. And it's the same thing with golf and bowls, I'm terrible at both of them in terms of scoring, but gee whiz, I have a lot of fun, and it's a fantastic expression. And I'm presuming that any kind of music can be that if we get beyond the criticism or the judgment about how good it is compared to something, compared to some perfection, compared to some other person, compared to whatever. But if we just go back to this is me doing what I do, and I'm doing the best that I can do, and I'm putting everything I've got into it. Yeah, music is definitely a portal into something that you might consider sublime. Wouldn't you agree?
Not sure who's addressed, but I agree. And also about the fun aspect, I think it can be very difficult. Like there is truth to say there are 1,000 roots to music, and you can have a great freedom if you know all of them by heart. You can have great freedom on your instrument, but um, of course you can give a beginner like a very broad set of roots and great freedom, and it probably won't be all that fun for the beginner, and probably won't sound all that good. And if you minimize the space of possibilities, for example, and just have very simple rules. For example, I've heard like this technique of teaching improvisation where you just uh, restrict yourself to two tones you can play, and then you can, for example, on string instruments, you can vibrate your finger and it translates into tone. Things like that you still have on your disposal. So you actually,
You want to
of
show
course,
us, Mills?
I do not own a cello, but I do notice, but I do have like this string instrument experience with the guitar. There are some similarities, I assume, in how it feels to put your finger down on them. So really restricting these things, you can really find great freedom of expression and like with just two tones, and then it's just this sort of sublime nature of it, or this thing that it can bring out of you. Uh, it starts. It can actually start to be seen without being overshadowed or complicated by like the 1,000 rules you have to follow, and that feels good.
Would you feel okay to demonstrate for us?
Let me quickly check something. Wouldn't know what. Oh, wait, I think I do remember something you have to do with the app, with the Zoom app, in order to
Oh, okay.
play something. You have to sort of go to audio and then say it is audio profile. Ah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't hear any of that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not even sure if that can be heard right now.
Oh, you can hear your voice. Yeah. So I'm looking at the settings for the audio, and there is a setting about voice live performance audio
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, I see it.
down in an audio profile. Yeah.
Is that heard?
No.
Okay. Oh, of course. I do have an idea on why. It's because I'm an idiot. Wait a second. The question is just in general, if you can hear me now. Or if
Yeah,
I
we
can
hear
even
your
hear.
voice.
Yeah. That hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had my how are they called? Earpods. Like these things for your ear. I had them and
No, still no guitar, Niels.
Oh, this is
I think
a new experience, isn't it?
it is a new one. I think my door ring anyway. I think that's a good moment to just
Okay.
watch this house. Hello.
Well, it was a good idea, but yeah.
Okay. But I also get overly excited talking about music and stuff.
Mm.
That's nice. I can also get overly excited about music, so it's nice that I'm not alone.
Ah, well,
Yeah, if we find a way we can play together.
yeah. I guess just not with Zoom, or maybe it's a particular setting in Zoom. Yeah. I do remember one production that happened where people all over the world played in isolation, but it was all put together and created an amazing uh, track with everybody. You know, so even though they played in isolation, once it was edited and put together, woven together, it was great. Yeah. So I don't know what software they would have used to produce it, but maybe something like audiology or one of those things that can record things with great nuance. Yeah.
I happen to know about that, but it's also very different if you play live. I do not know about the latency that one can expect when doing this at two separate points of the world. Like latency is of course very important. It can be devastatingly confusing, but just a few milliseconds.
Hmm.
But I suppose there are software solutions for playing live together, and but you know, putting things pre-recording and then mixing and putting things together, that's uh I don't know, I've never really felt that.
Hmm. Hmm. So a question that arises here is how does all of this relate to awakening?
I guess beside being a very sensual experience, I mean, listening to music is of course listening, but really beside that, it's about at times a very what people hope to achieve and or get out of this. I think is a very selfless state, finding yourself in, very
Right.
much not concerned with who you are, what you are. You just find yourself, find your fingers moving through over a
Hmm.
fretboard, find your feeling vibrations, find your hearing something, and you're not very much concerned otherwise.
Yeah. Even a sense of time would be different, if not disappear.
Yeah, it sort of also gets replaced if one wants to stick with that analogy for a moment with something very, very different, really, which is rhythm, which, of course, like a mathematician would argue it's a function of time, but it's not felt the same way. It sort of takes the spot of experience of time. It is something very, very, very graspable, very much felt at every single instance of the process, so to speak.
I was going to say it's about being present, but I'm not entirely sure because we are present with the sounds and the sensations and the flow of it, but also it's kind of like it's also being carried away into some kind of state or mood, or it can also be constantly having a vision of what you want to do and then doing it. So it's kind of like also not exactly in the head, but in intention or something. So yeah.
Sometimes it's also doing or sort of gateway to process things. So yesterday I picked up the instrument while my girlfriend was just playing video games with her headset on, and I was sitting beside her, and I just hit a note that really much reminded me of a song I know my stepmother really loves. And so I just sort of figured out how to play it a bit, which by the way is everything I do it for you. It is a beautiful song. But that is very much, there is very much an emotional reaction to it, but it's not, to circle back on what you said earlier, it's not sort of evoked in a way externally. It's not like you can put tearjerker music over a movie and it will surely elicit an emotional reaction, sort of forced, but it came more naturally. It really is. There is an emotional component to interacting with the music, and it can be very personal.
Yeah. Yeah. We know, for example, that people who are deeply lost in Alzheimer's or dementia can have memory evoked with music. And it can be music from 20, 30, 40 years before. So we do know that there's this relationship between something about music, I'm not sure what, and the brain, the way the brain works. It does have and it's got to do with memory. It's got to do with all sorts of strange undefined things. I guess when people say they prefer a particular genre of music, it might be several things involved in that, and one of them might be their natural inclination, their DNA or whatever, and another one might be their history, their experience, where they were at a time when they listened to that music or heard that kind of music. So it's evocative in that way. But I'm imagining that in a theoretical case where somebody has never heard music before, if they, for the very first time they hear music, it's going to be an amazing experience for them. No, nobody knows why. So they certainly wouldn't know why. Yeah. So some music, you bend a note, You know, I know that's just the way I understand that. You bend a note and that causes a bodily reaction, you know, or bend a note on a harmonica has a strong reaction for me. You know, that will definitely have a physical response when I hear that wow happen. Yeah. So there's a natural connection to music that's quite different to that which we association. Yeah.
I'm sure you know it because you're American, and that is an stereotype, of course. But if you do not know it, you should listen to Freebird.
Free bird,
Lots of
BIRD.
yeah about the about the animal, yeah, spelled together.
I will look it up.
Mm.
You might be a bit shocked, though. It is an astonishingly beautiful song. But you will, if you look it up, there's a great chance you will find the live video where they play. And like in the 70s, I think they came from Alabama and they play in front of a huge Confederate flag. And I can't tell you how to feel about that, but I imagine some feelings about it come up even more strongly. For Americans. I sort of assume you're Americans.
No, 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 none of us are American. I'm Australian. So yeah, we know we're from all over the world.
I see.
But I am originally from New York, so you're not wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I only saw the time zones and I was like, oh, far, far away.
Leinard Skybird, Freebird audio. Yeah, I've got some. I'll listen to it later. Yeah. Yeah. So how are you at the moment, Tammy? Tell me how you are right now.
Um, right now, happy to be talking to you guys. Um, yeah. All my wonderings are there, but
Wonderings about?
all my usual stuff in the background about just indecision and worries
Uh,
and needing to organize my life and stuff. But
right. Can you see
trying
can you see
to,
that how you had to leave now to go to that?
yeah, yeah.
Hmm. And can you imagine the reverse happening, bringing that into now?
Bringing what into what?
Well, if you leave now to go to those, well, firstly, you're going to go via the vehicle of stories to those things, indecisions, etc. So if you leave now to go to that, and then we reverse it and go bring that back into now. Can you see how that can you distinguish between those two things? So if you leave now where you're happy to be here talking and you focus on those things, you kind of leave now and go to them. But there'll be other times when you'll bring them into now. Is that
You
too
mean
obscure for you?
yeah, I'm not sure if you're meaning trying to forget about them and push them aside and not think about them so I can be more in the present, or you're saying bring them in. You're not saying let go of them.
Yeah, almost the opposite. You take them from there. A thought turns up that they exist somewhere over there away, and you bring them into your present, and they start shaping your experience.
I guess that's what's happening now, right? I was present. Then you say, how are you? And then I go into my thoughts about what needs to be done or what's not okay. And then that starts to shape my present.
Yeah, well, okay, so there you go. So when I first ask you, you're still feeling okay and you visit them, but then they start to have an effect on you, and that's when you bring them back into now. Until they're having an effect, you're you're over there with them visiting them, but they're not really having an effect on your core uh, experience.
Mm-hmm.
But once you start swimming in them, they've come back into and they're shaping your core experience.
Yeah.
It's pretty subtle, I guess, but yeah, there's that going out to and then pulling into this. Right. Now, both of those things happen spontaneously, don't they? It depends on the circumstances. So you find yourself feeling good now, talking with Nils about music, something you love, and you're feeling pretty good. And then I ask you, how have you been? And all of a sudden you kind of stretch out over there to those things, and you're going to them, but then they start having an effect on you. And that is because they've been brought back into now, brought back into the present. So they weren't there for a moment, and then they are there now because we've focused on them.
Yeah. And I think that's what I'm not sure how to do is I can have a dichotomy. I can try and push it away and go into positive experience. But when I actually have to deal with the world, I don't know how to deal with those
Mm. You,
questions and decisions and thoughts and actual life stuff with the same kind of relaxation, joy, ease.
yeah, you just lost me a bit. I got a bit confused. Where what was happening for you when you're saying you're putting yourself in a situation or a position when you say when I have to when I'm relating to the real world. I think you said something like that.
Yeah, like I'm saying, if I'm
So
just alone in a room speaking to you guys, it's one thing. But then anytime I have to again get up and do my life, it's a completely different
right,
thing. I don't know how to
right,
bring ease and
okay.
relaxation into the life because it becomes,
Yeah,
as you
that
said,
other
feel
stuff
the
is
chemicals.
overwhelms. Yes, yeah, got it.
Just thinking about it, I'm back into the,
Yes, just thinking about it brings it into a reality. It actually shapes that real world thing, doesn't it? Now,
it,
now, of course, the implication here is, well, we don't want to do that, but that doesn't work, does it? Because we don't control when that happens. We just discover that it's there. But what I'm asking you to do, which is pretty subtle, is to consider, as soon as the thought turns up, to consider what happened and ask yourself, did you go to it or did you pull it into you? Right. So that would then involve some memory, and that memory is, what was I feeling a moment before this one turned up? So right now, because we've been talking about that stuff, presumably it's got a bit of prominence. But can you remember a moment before when you were just enjoying talking to Nils about music, and that was your state? You were feeling pretty okay
Yeah.
until Vince come along and asked you that question, and then all of a sudden you're not quite so okay, are you?
Yeah.
Now, did you go to it or did it come to you? I know it's a subtle one. It's very subtle, and I'm asking for, well, use your imagination. What happened? What was the feeling of it?
Yeah, I definitely went to it, but I think usually it's always present and it comes to me, especially if there's anything in the life to be done. Eating, moving,
Yes.
going out,
Yeah.
sleeping my day.
Yeah.
So, but here it was, you asked, so I went mentally there
Mm,
and allowed it in. In other words, I went there and
mm,
yeah.
yeah. And so, are you experiencing any unpleasantness in the body as a result of going to it?
Yeah, immediately I feel chemicals, I feel
Right.
stuff,
Right. So,
contractions, yeah.
could you get that experience, that bodily experience that you've got, shows you that you're immersed in it, and that somewhere along the line, it, instead of you going to it came to you, and it was like a blanket that covered you, that, or something that immersed you in it.
Um, do you mean when you say I going to it, you mean bringing the piece that is here when I'm not thinking about it to those things to execute them? I'm not sure
Yeah,
exactly.
it's a tricky one, but it's kind of, you're kind of going to leave the piece, not suddenly it's, you were in it and now you're not. There's a kind of a progression, if you like, or an evolution out of the piece into it. And when you get to a certain degree of into it's everything. So in other words, it's come to you at that point. What I'm trying to do, and this is just whatever's turned up here, is that I'm trying to get you to recognize there's a point where you going to it becomes it coming to you. And if you can kind of get even it's a fantasy, to say it at this stage, but if you can get a point where maybe just the degree of it is such that it's all encompassing, and a moment ago it wasn't, that there is that switch point. And if you can recognize that even conceptually at this stage, then it gives you some kind of option, seemingly, to extend it. So what I imagine is that at some point, if you can recognize that switch over point, you can extend it so that you can go to it, but not be affected by it, not be swimming in it. In other words, you haven't invited it in yet. You're just standing at the door looking at it over there. And you're still feeling okay in yourself. It hasn't swamped you yet. But when you step through the door, it does become everything.
But when you're saying it, Vince, are you talking about the facts of making decisions and stuff? Or are you talking about the overwhelming emotions that come when I think about it?
Yeah, that's a good question, isn't it? I'm not sure what I'm referring to.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're playing with a conceptual kind of production here, so the emotions aren't associated. Well, it's not the emotions, but the emotions will reflect for you whether you're outside the door looking in or whether you've crossed the threshold and you're inside and swamped by it. So the emotions will tell you where you are on that metaphorical journey to it. And we don't need to define what it is, but it is going to be an unpleasant state for you where you feel inadequate, can't make decisions, can't control it, can't do whatever happens. That's part of being swamped by it, isn't it? And the emotions that come from that are pretty overwhelming. Whereas before you get to that point, there is a place where you can kind of see it. I want to say objectively, but to stay with the analogy,
You
you can
see
see
it
it
about to
over there.
happen. Yeah. Yeah. You
Yes,
see it
yes,
about
it's
to
about to
happen.
happen. Yeah,
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah,
totally. Yeah.
yeah.
Like
And
it was
so,
very clear today when I was like feeling one way and then you asked me and I'm like, well, here we go. I'm going to go into
yes,
that to bring the
yes,
answers. It was
yes,
very visceral. Yeah.
yeah. And so it's like with music, that yeah, there's that interesting paradox, and that is that music is very much in itself got to do with timing, but time itself changes. So, if you do you get that one?
I know what you mean. The sense of time when we're playing.
The
Yeah.
sense of time, yes, the sense of duration. Yet inside that, we've got a metronome going that's saying,
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
is it. Yeah,
It's quite funny. Yeah.
yeah, it is.
But it's very true, Vince. I mean, I've always had that. Like in high school, I really didn't like my first high school that I was in. And every morning I had to shore up the energy, like give myself a pep talk and take a deep breath before I opened that door and went in. And like at different stages of my life, it's like, or going to my sister's house, like I have to, like, I know I'm going into, whatever. And I
Yes,
take a deep breath and I go in anyway because, you
yeah,
know,
because that's you. That's what you do. Yes.
yeah. And also, you don't want avoiding life too much is not good either. So it's like a balance. But I'm just wondering if this okayness can be present no matter what, or if that's like a pipe dream and you just have to be okay that a lot of life is not okay and
Mm,
just be okay
mm.
with that. So,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I can say my experience is something, but I can't promise you that you'll have your version of my experience. But we're moving
mm,
towards it. We're moving towards something, and it'll be your version. Uh, um, and in that state, it can be definitely. You kind of have the fantasy of it, and then you go, well, is that a pipe dream, or am I totally incapable of achieving that? I said achieving it, but you get what I mean, yeah?
mm.
It can happen, but there's no guarantee that it will or that it won't. We have no idea about that. So I mean, it's a weird one, isn't it? For me, it's so stark, so straightforward, and so simple that there is a relationship to whatever turns up that means it can be okay. It's really weird. So all right. Here's an example. Now I'm not. Comparison's a bitch. So we're not. We don't want to. We're not trying to evoke that. But anyway, so I, s- I, s- I set out to walk with my wife and the dog today, and as got about 5 or 10 minutes into the walk, I realised that I was feeling a little bit nauseous. Wasn't a big deal. It was just nauseous, and then I wondered about whether I'd had too much breakfast because I don't normally eat breakfast, but today I did, and I had 4 bits of toast, and so I thought, I wonder if it was something to do with that. But anyway, I couldn't see how that would make me feel a bit nauseous. When we walked on, and we walked for probably we walked right down the other end of the boardwalk and down long past the marina and down the path and throwing the ball for the dog, etc. And on the way back, I realised I was feeling a bit more nauseous than I had been earlier, So it had stayed with me, but it wasn't a big deal. And we went back through past the marina and back along the boardwalk. And as we were walking along the boardwalk, I realised that I was feeling very nauseous. And so, and my wife took the dog and another package we were carrying, and I stopped and I had a vomit off the side of the boardwalk, just into the bush there. And it was okay. It was just a bit of a vomit. Then we got home and I rushed to the toilet and had a big vomit. And then as soon as I finished the vomit, I had to turn around and sit down and I had diarrhea. And it was really, really like, wow, it was quite extreme, this feeling. But what I'm trying to tell you is it was interesting rather than horrible. Certainly nothing about it was pleasant, but it wasn't horrible. It was just, I wonder why. I wonder why. Anyway, after that, I kind of had a bit of a clean up and washed my mouth out and so on, and then went and lay down. And next thing I fell asleep, and then I wake up. And guess what? When I woke up, 100% okay. No sign of the nausea, no sign of anything left. It was gone. What happened? Well, I can tell you about the experience, but I can't tell you anything about why.
Mm.
No idea where it come from. I have no idea what it's trying to tell me. And I can say that my memory of it, there was nothing horrible about it at all. It was just a rather interesting experience. And I'm just amazed that the body can do this kind of thing, And I can also remember once upon a time it would have said, oh, this means something. This means that you're sick. This means that something has happened, whatever. And now I just laugh at those things because I go, well, I don't, it's maybe I'll get shown what it means, but it doesn't look like it. At this stage, I have no idea what it means, if it means anything. I have no idea of a cause. It was just the body doing what the body did. But you can see once upon a time that would have been seen as the beginning of something big. And I wonder if that would have actually been a self-fulfilling prophecy. That
Mm.
right now, it's just a weird memory. It's like maybe it didn't even happen to me. It just happened. I don't know. Weird. So what I'm
Mm.
saying is, stuff that we normally take to be a certain way doesn't have to be that way. We can develop a way of looking at things that says, well, it just is what it is, and that's it. No big deal.
Yeah.
So my hope for you is that you'll develop your own version of that kind of way of looking at things. And then instead of life or reality being the way you used to see it, it will just be a series of interesting happenings that get interpreted.
Hmm. I guess it still feels like certain things or components need to happen in order to have a good, happy, healthy, secure life. And I just kind of,
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying to you, though, is that your version of happy, healthy, secure life is part of the problem. My version of happy, healthy, secure life is different. And so it doesn't bring with it the heaviness that yours does. Maybe that's
you
going
mean
too far. I don't know. Am I?
internally or what it needs externally? Or,
Well, no, yeah, okay. So here's one. Nothing means anything externally. There's no such thing. There is no externally. Even what appears to be external is being interpreted by you. So the whole world is internal. There's nothing that's external. And that's not just woo-woo shit. That's not just a fantasy thing. That is a reality that you can see, is that everything that you believe is out there only comes into existence when you interact with it. And as a result of that, it's the nature of your interaction that gives it reality. So the kind of reality that I give the so-called external world is different to what you give it. And so you tend to see it, well, tell me if I go too far with this, but you see it as containing a whole lot of unpleasantness that gets inflicted on you. It's dogs and demands and people that behave in a certain way and so on.
yeah,
Whereas for me, the reality is, how do I interpret that stuff? How do I react or respond to it? Now, I don't do that responding. It's something that's evolved.
I think I agree with you partially, Vince. I can't come around to everything is mind over matter. I can't come around to everything is internal.
Yeah, okay. We've got to watch
But
those terms too. It's not mind over matter. There is no matter. It's all mind. And that's pushing the envelope a bit, but I get that.
only partially agree, Vince. I can only partially
Mm.
agree. I think as a human experience, we do have certain things that we need in order to be okay.
Well, that's a
But
story about us, and it might be or might not be accurate. I don't know about that. But yeah, yeah, of course, of course. I mean, if we write a script for a movie, then of course we need to eat. It's interesting that hardly any movies do you ever see anybody visit the toilet. Nobody shits in the movie. It's just the way movies are. They don't. But essentially, yeah, this movie includes everything that becomes part of our experience. But it's so clear to me that how I experience things depends on what I bring to it, the way I see it. Now I get that you
it's clear
moving
to
in
me
that
as well,
direction.
but I have more limits. Yeah. In other words, I agree with you to a point. I
Yeah.
think I would
Well, that's a great start. Absolutely.
say.
Yeah. And wouldn't it be interesting for you to recognize the edges of that agreement? Where is the limit and where does it turn into the other thing? And play around a little bit on that boundary between
Yeah.
where you agree and where you think I'm wrong about that. And I'm allowed to be wrong. I mean, I could be totally wrong. Who knows? I don't mind.
It's not about you or me. It's about the ideas. That
Yes,
idea.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah, yeah. So playing with that.
Hmm. And of course we're going to have to use metaphor, to be able to include it in the script, if you like. We've got to have something to point our focus at.
I mean, for me, it's doing anything except for being alone. In other words, anything, any decision, any interaction, any
Mm,
work or play with other people, um, taking care of the life stuff, all the decisions around how to spend my time, and yeah,
mm.
all of that brings on.
So who is not alone in the world? Is there anybody that's not alone?
No, I just meant like when I'm physically alone, it's one thing versus when I have to interact with anything, that's when comes in a lot of all the,
Okay.
all the pressure, all the stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll play
So
with it more.
yeah, isn't it interesting how that being physically alone and being emotionally alone can be both good and bad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean yeah, get crank up your fantasy world and kind of look at possibilities and so on. Yeah. I read
In
it.
a
I
way,
read. Sorry, go on.
you say.
I was just going to say I read about somebody, and I've already forgotten his name now. I don't remember who it was, but he spent his lifetime alone, uh, seemingly by choice. Went off by himself somewhere and read and read and read and read everything he could get his hands on for like 20 years, looking for what was in common in all of these stories that people had written about things. And it was like, he the classic of, say, Sinbad or any of those ones, that it had the same fundamental plot, if you like, that to any of the movies. And it was always about somebody looking, seeking, going on a journey, going through difficulties, discovering something, and then coming home. And it didn't matter whether it was a really, really old one or a really, really modern one. It had basically that same plot was in every one of them. I guess you might call it the hero's journey, but and aren't we all going through exactly that same thing?
Hmm.
Except I feel like I'm home and you
Hmm.
maybe don't. Yeah.
Well, it's nice that you feel that way. It's nice to
Hmm.
know. So, do I be playful in my answers of what I allow myself to do in the physical world, or only be playful in the boundaries, in the trying to infuse more lightness into all those things?
Why don't you do whatever turns up and experiment and
Yeah.
see what happens? See, this is another part of that thing that I recognize is so stark and so simple, and that is there's absolutely zero need to look for anything other than what turns up. Everything that turns up is exactly right for you.
Yeah.
It's a one way to put it might be it's an offering by the gods. If it turns up, it suits your needs at this moment. And if you can kind of get a hold of that, then all of a sudden you can start to include all the shitty stuff in that. And you can think, wow, why did that turn up? And sometimes you'll find it, or sometimes it'll be like my experience this morning and nothing shows up yet. Who knows what might show up in my dreams tonight or tomorrow or at some future? Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. It's a good one.
The analogy of the gods is beautiful too. That's really worth it, And so instead of the God as we know it, right? It seems to be more a better one is to go back to the old days, the really, really old days, as we understand it in history, where there was a God of this and a God of that. I frequently joke and laugh and talk with my golfing friends and my bowling friends about the luck god. I have a really good bowl and they say, oh, good job. You did a great job there. And I said, oh, the luck god shone on me. That's what it was. And sometimes the luck god abandons me, or sometimes it's God with a really twisted sense of humor giving me all sorts of shit just to see what turns up. So I love that way of looking at the life. With use, there are gods everywhere, gods for this and gods for that, and they're fickle and they're frivolous and they don't, whatever.
Wait, are they fickle and frivolous, or are they giving you exactly what you need and great wisdom? Vince, you're
So,
contradicting.
no, that's I don't see a contradiction in that. They're both that way. Um, when they give me something that's not pleasant, it is what I need. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. But they can next moment they can give me something entirely different. That's their fickleness, and because they've got this twisted sense of humor, they like flipping from one to the other. That's just the fantasy I've got about them. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Vince. I will go and play with this. It's always a
Yeah.
pleasure to speak to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tammy. Thank you.
Bye,
Yeah.
guys.
Oh, so you've got your finger back in a splint, Dom. You had it out
Oh
for a
yeah,
moment.
well, this is supposed to be the overnight one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's they got it to they've given me a strap that kind of bends it passively to try and get it to fully bend. But then now they've asked me to go back to doing the nighttime straightening thing. So it's slow progress.
Yeah. I remember that. I went through that myself. Yeah. And they've got this amazing material that they put in hot water and it can get soft and they can shape it and then it goes hard when it cools down. Yeah.
Yeah. They use that, and then this one that they use this material that's it's like wood chip, but it's also it goes soft, and so it's what do you call it? Biodegradable. And it goes hard. Yeah, it goes hard after it gets cool.
Yeah.
So
it's a long journey, not only healing, but the physio to get back the movement and so on.
Yeah. So physio exercise is one of those things, aren't they? They're so hard to remember to do and to do like consistently.
Yeah. I, for example, I can't bend my wrist this way very far. And I'm
Right,
wondering,
yeah.
so I can do this way, it flop this way really easy, but like that's the maximum I can get it to go that way. And on this hand, I can easily get it to go that way. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and I'm wondering, I wonder if I was shirked on my physio at the time. I didn't. I don't know, but anyway, and it doesn't interfere with my golf swing, so that's okay. Yeah. And interestingly, when I started playing bowls was when I still had this hand in a splint. And so I started playing bowls with my left hand, and I now can do my left hand better than my right hand. So that's
Oh, wow. That's
that's an
amazing.
interesting
Yeah.
one. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I started boxing southpaw, which is
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
left-handed, just because I couldn't punch really with this hand.
Mm.
Uh, and it feels so strange at first, but
Yeah.
your
Yeah. Yeah.
body learns pretty quick.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um,
Mm. And you feel got to be protective about that right hand. Do you still put a glove on it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I wear big, like, bag gloves. They're 16 ounces, so they're big, big things. Yeah.
Mm. Well, it's really you want your opponent to wear them.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing when people are sparring, they wear those, but when they get into a competition, they go down to the lighter gloves. It's much harder.
Yeah.
They're like, it feels like concrete
Mm.
compared,
Yeah. 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 It's amazing people don't break more fingers punching. Because they've
Yeah.
got to bind it up in the right way and all that to protect it.
Yeah. I mean, this was a bit of a freak because I was holding pads, so it got bent backwards.
Mm.
Yeah.
So how have you been, generally speaking?
Yeah, I've been good. I think, I guess, in summary, I would say overall things are not affecting me as much, maybe. So, but I don't know, it's just interesting. I mean, there's three things that have just flashed into my mind. One is I went camp. I've just got back from camping with my wife. We go every year to this beautiful campsite in Dorset, and beautiful weather and seaside and all that. And then on the Friday night, we took some mushrooms, and
Of the magic kind.
yeah, of the
Yep,
magic
yep.
kind. Not large amounts because but we're not typically used to doing it in an environment where there's other people and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, I found it enjoyable, but my wife, she only had a little bit, but she sort of just sank into this really like heavy space, because she could see families, and so it brought up this like kind of sadness around her childhood, and then all these stories about not fitting in, and she wasn't it just kind of. So I was trying to be with her as best I could. I mean, it wasn't like um, hugely traumatic or something like that because it was quite a mild dose, and so but she
Mm.
was crying and
Yeah,
things like
yeah,
that,
yeah,
and which
yeah,
is
yeah.
I see it as healthy. Um,
Yeah, it would
but it was
definitely
quite
be
emotional.
a positive experience, even if it wasn't experienced as pleasant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
quite
it's like
unpleasant, and
that's what they'll do is they'll remove filters, if you like.
that's it, takes away those blocks. Um,
Mm.
um, and she's got ideas about being stuck in her career at the moment, and kind of life stuff. But it's fairly familiar stories that I've heard over the years. You know what I mean? So Anyway, I was trying to just be there for her, sort of thing. And then the next night we went out to dinner, and it was our anniversary this weekend. So we went to dinner, and I just asked her what she thought happened and how she would describe. But I thought she might got some insight from it or something like that. But actually, she went in straight into like she feels that no one supports her, and she feels this, and she feels that, and she feels. I mean, she's anyway, and I sort of reacted to that, like I didn't attack or anything like that, but inside I was like, I got like this very strong sort of feeling of like story about her negativity, let's say, that sort of like took hold of me for maybe half a day or something. And that was quite hard, that was quite sort of challenging because
was that about something about her missing out on the possible benefits of this? Was it a frustration?
Yeah, no, it was more general than that in a sense of like just it was a sort of my story that she reverts to a kind of victim story, and that she struggles to sort of step outside of that and examine it as something interesting. That
so there was an implication about her having a choice.
Yeah, exactly. And so then all my catastrophizing kicked off, and all of that kind of stuff, and just feeling grumpy and wanting to pull away, which is what I do.
Yeah. Did I feel like it sucked some of the goodness out of your version, your trip?
It was just more like related to life in general, sort of thing, because I didn't feel like the trip wasn't particularly significant for me. So then I found, so that there was the story was gripping so strongly that I was seeing it all the time in everything that she was doing. I mean, now we got home. Now we've got home. It's completely disappeared, and everything's kind of back to normal, as it were.
Back to normal, yeah.
Which is
it's a good one, isn't it?
And it's like it's just interesting how strong it felt and how nothing it feels now. But I mean, there's a lot there that's very, where that comes from. It's my sort of desire to sort of fix and to that thing, and I find it really, to just be with it and not try and do anything about it, just accompany her rather than trying to stop her feeling a certain way, is really, but like, and I work with sponsees in recovery, and I'm blah blah blah, and I can see when they're doing it so clearly, and I can guide, you can help them and all that. But when it's me, it's like it feels so wrong. It feels like I'm being cruel, or I'm being like abandoning someone, or something like that. If I'm not sort of trying to get in there and like
you want to
make
fix
it okay.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting, just to see that whole, which hasn't been happening that much, but it just came. It was just like there was a 24-hour cycle or whatever where that was
yeah.
really.
So how do you
strong.
feel about now? Do you imagine that she's back to normal, that she's got all those filters back in place, and she can operate? She still doesn't feel great in her career and all the rest of it, but she can operate because she's got that.
Yeah, I mean, whatever her side is, I mean, I don't know how I can support her in those actual, what what part of it is, for example, she has some financial insecurity, but actually she's in a pretty good financial position, really. I mean,
Yeah. But she can still feel that way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that, maybe that's to do with conditioning and things like that. Um, it's, there's it's like, I suppose it's how do you support someone without
Yeah, that's a tricky one, isn't it?
carrying someone, you know what I mean? It's like, and she carries me too. I'm just like, don't want to make it sound like it's like a one-sided
No,
thing, there's,
yeah.
um,
So does tolerating it feel like condoning it?
yes. Yeah. I'd say that's definitely a narrative.
Yeah. So one of the things that seems to arise as a theme here from time to time is that acceptance of something doesn't mean approval of it. So it's a bit of a tricky one, isn't it? How do we, and then with somebody else, how do we show acceptance and support without saying it's okay for you to be there in that shitty place? Yeah, it's a tricky one. And of course, you want to give support, I presume. I mean, I'll say I'm pretty accurate with that. You want to help, you want to whatever. You'd like her not to be feeling those negative things that she feels, but you're powerless to change them.
Yeah. That's right.
No matter what you offer, it's only going to produce something that's worse. Yeah. But there is a way. There is a way, and that's a tricky one. And that is, I must do something about this one. I must write a story about it or something. But it's how you are not. There's no dom there when you're interacting with her around this stuff. It's like the way you disappear is you offer nothing and you invite everything. So you're just really interested in what are the details. So let's say, for example, her feeling that she's stalled in her career, what does that feel like? Now don't tell me the stories that come up about it. Where do you feel it? What is it you're feeling? This kind of thing. And if she wants to tell you stories, you listen to the stories, and then you go, how does that relate to what you feel about it? And most likely she's going to tell you more stories, but you very gently try and keep inquiring about what's going on. You've got to be a bit skillful about how you do it, so you don't want to get her annoyed about whatever, because she's going to probably immediately imagine that you're going to judge whatever she says. So you've got to be a bit, but it's like how Dom disappears and gets replaced by just a great well of interest about what's going on for her. When she feels, and you can't pull it out of her, when she feels strong enough, or however whatever it takes, when she feels like sharing it with you, when that opportunity turns up, it's a bit of a trick to not go hunting for it, but be awake for the possibility when it comes along. Because we want to be seen. and we want to be validated in whatever we're feeling, even if it's shitty stuff. And simply
Yeah.
seeing it as it's expressed is a way of doing that. Yeah. Interesting. But of course, for you, it's all about you. I mean, then we're talking about her, but for you, it's like what this idea that where does it come from? This desire to fix. Do you want her to feel good so that you can feel good? Do you want her to, what is it, where does that compassion come from? Is it compassion or is it
Yeah.
manipulation? All that kind of stuff. Yeah. And in the end, in a good relationship, well, say a good relationship, in a working, an adaptable relationship, we're okay with whatever turns up. It's just, we can't really control it. We're not looking for perfection. That's a big thing too. If we're feeling okay, then that's pretty good. So an interesting one would be, what was the motivation, or going a bit further, the intention in taking the mushrooms? Was it obviously it was different for you than for her? Was it looking to be entertained, or was it looking for some insights, or something else even?
Yeah, I mean, it's not pure entertainment in that sense, and I'm a little bit wary of kind of insights as such, because I've sort of had situations where I've been on high dose sessions and things like that, and it's like someone's like, oh, what was the insight? And I'm like, it's not that simple. It's sort of, but it's something about, somehow I feel like with me there's something that kind of, there's these sort of layers that kind of accumulate over time. I don't know quite how, and like something with doing mushrooms sometimes seems to let some of those layers fall away a bit, and I just feel a bit more sort of directly connected to, and it, emotions come up and things kind of shift and change, and it seems to be helpful. It seems to be over the last few years of doing it that it's a bit of a little reset, or a little kind of sometimes if I've been working really hard on this story, because I had my short film that got screened, and then I just went, and been writing this longer form thing, which is very hours of writing every day, and so it's like just coming up for air and kind of just taking yourself somewhere else, and that's more the rationale.
Yeah, it puts things in a different perspective, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. You go up and you enter a new kind of space, and sort of gives you a bit of distance and perspective, and without necessarily, I mean, I didn't have any like insights about my work or anything like that, and in this particular case, because of what happened, it was a bit more focused on that, because it was kind of,
yeah. And those things, they'll continue to have an effect for quite a while. It's like we poked the bear, and then it's got to find a new position to settle down again, kind of thing. Yeah. And it's amazing for me. It's amazing that we can have insights that we don't know we've had. We can know stuff that we don't know that
Mm,
we know. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. I've sort of stopped looking for the kind of headline sort of insight,
Right.
you know.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, but I think the processing seems to be happening quicker or something, or
Hmm.
something like that.
Yeah, I would say you've probably dislodged a whole lot of those filters that there. Yeah. Good stuff. How about you, Leonard? What's alive for you?
Um, Actually, I I'm beginning to start my business, but yeah, because I got like financial support from the state, like for the next 6 months, so I don't have to
Oh.
worry about paying my bills
Hmm.
for the time being and can like look if it's going to work or not. But actually, I'm quite surprised because I used to always be a bit frightened by those things like, oh, I have to earn money with what I'm doing and so on. And now, yeah, sometimes this thought pops in, but then I can really see it for what it is. And then it's
Mm.
always like, I mean, the predominant thing at the moment is that I really enjoy um, my day structure. I mean, I work like for 4 or 5 hours. At the moment, it's rather like this marketing stuff with social media and doing videos and things like that. Um, and then, like after 4 or 5 hours, I noticed, okay, now I feel a bit tired. And then I'm so happy because I remember when I was employed, then it would mean I would have to work another 4 hours, like it's
Mm.
so nice to be able to
Yeah.
regulate that myself and just
Mm.
say, like, call it a day. Today I worked enough, it's fine.
Excellent.
And I
Excellent.
mean, I
Yeah.
can set like my own things that I want to do, and if I feel like no, that's too much, I'll do it tomorrow. So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. Good stuff. I love it. I
super
love it. Yeah.
nice, and have no idea if it will work out, but
Oh,
at
that's
the
right. Yeah. Who knows?
moment,
But you're being
I really
creative is the big
enjoy,
thing.
yeah,
Mm.
I really enjoy being creative, and I have those flow moments that I really forget about the time, and then it doesn't really feel so much like,
Mm.
oh, I still have to work that many hours or something.
Hmm.
And then kind of, I don't know, I noticed that there is like a bit of a shift because mm, I think before, because it's also a bit my hobby, I couldn't stop like reading philosophy and stuff like that. And then I put it in this box like, okay, it's just a hobby. I'm not searching for anything there. And it's, yeah. But at the same time, I think it was not really that honest. There was still a part of me like searching for something to
Hmm.
get a hold of. I don't know. And now, like a week ago or so, I started to really enjoy those exercises, like direct experience, but not, I mean, it's not so strict that I say, like, I have to
Mm.
do it, I want to do it every day or something. It's just like after working, I just lay down and then I try out this kind of things like with listening
Yeah.
and seeing and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I think at like before I was not really ready to do that because my mind would always say like,
Yeah.
ah, yeah, I already understood what it's all about, so
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was already over and I could not really enjoy it. But now I can really
Yeah. You're
dive
getting something out
into
of it,
it.
discovering.
Yeah, and that it's interesting because I have the intuition that slowly I'm losing interest in all those philosophical concepts because
Hmm.
this is way more interesting. And a funny thing also, yesterday, I mean, I usually don't talk about those kind of things with friends, but there's like one friend that I thought that he might be open to it. So I talked to him about this direct experience stuff, and then he was like really convinced that no, this doesn't exist. Like
Yeah.
experience is always related to thinking, it's never separated from thinking, and you always think and you can't stop thinking, and he told me that I was not being objective and that is only like my subjective story or something. But then I thought, I mean, I didn't really continue the conversation then, and I just said like, yeah, maybe you're right. But in the end, I found it like so funny that like on the one hand, like most people would say, ah, this is just like some spiritual esoteric fantasy that you can have an experience without thinking, and there is no objective evidence for that. But then if you ask people like for, yeah, but why are you so sure about having a self? Then actually the same argument uh,
Yeah.
can't be like, I mean, there is no proof for that. And I mean, but then the people would not agree. Like they would say,
Mm.
yeah, but I know that it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I
that.
just know. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I found this rather
Yeah.
funny because it's like, I mean, this whole thing of being objective and scientific, um, but there's like still like this super blind spot where people, I mean, if people really want to be scientific, that means like to really go into investigating, then they should kind of um, find out about those things. But it
Yeah.
does not
Yeah.
happen because people are so attached to thinking as being the ultimate reality.
Yeah. Of
It's
course. Of
really
course. Yeah.
interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
of
I'm
course,
not.
it's interesting that what I might, let's say we've got this fantasy about somebody I might call a true scientist, and that is
Mm,
that they have upfront that whatever they think is the case, they also acknowledge it as a hypothesis, and they
mm,
actually will set out to prove it wrong, not
mm.
right. Yeah. So most people think they're being scientific when they're being the opposite.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm,
Yeah, no, that's good. I love that you're on this journey of discovery. Yeah.
mm. Yeah, and also the interesting thing is kind of that now that I'm in this creative process, for example, I don't really have um, this icky feeling
Well,
like,
good. Yeah, yeah.
but I don't know, there was also a bit of a shift that now I really want to investigate it more. So it's nearly like I'm thinking like, come on, come back to
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
I just want
yeah.
to find
Well,
out
you
about
can
what,
bring it on.
yeah,
You can do that.
yeah.
Take it to the lab. The technique that is used, particularly in the feta stuff, is to
Mm,
find a sentence that evokes
yeah.
that feeling. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the thing is that the sentence that I used that would trigger that physical response um, does not really work anymore. It
Stops
doesn't.
working.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was really interesting to observe because in the beginning it was like a combination of three or four phenomena in the body or like at different places.
Mm,
And now the only thing that it does is like a bit of tension here.
mm.
And yeah, so there is still a response, but it's not the same
Yeah, well, it
intensity
doesn't have to
response.
be a big response. You certainly
Mm,
don't want to be overwhelmed by the response.
mm,
But what comes to mind is the possibility that you could try that sentence, and
mm-hmm,
instead of saying blah, 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 you say blah, 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 blah.
uh-huh,
You get what I
uh-huh,
mean? You
mm,
put a different emphasis on it, or maybe an emphasis on just some of the words, and
mm,
just see what happens with that. But remember that, of course, in the background there is this thing of we're not wanting to get lost in this. We just want to
mm,
evoke something to relate to, and
mm,
so even the faintest indication of it is enough sometimes.
mm. Um, in this, in one of the direct experience exercises, it was from this book, The Direct Path, and then it was
A great good one.
like, yeah, to look at a photo from Google of the human brain, and then like, can you like by directly experience this image, see any causation of what the brain does? And at first, I didn't really get what it was all about. It was more interesting, like what happened when I had this on the screen, like the different colors or like dark and light,
Mm,
and then also in the end it was like merging with the room, and then it was the laptop just seeming as a screen because of the darker colors and so on. But then somehow I was wondering, I mean, when you strip off the labels and so it's maybe in the beginning it's the laptop, then it's just like a form, then it's just colors, and then maybe it's just light and dark, but
mm-hmm,
those are still labels anyway.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
kind of I I mean it's a concept anyway, but um, I kind of had this intuition that there can also be like light and dark, that it has to do something with intensity as well, like the intensity of the color, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was wondering because intensity, even if it is like also a concept, but it can be found somehow also in hearing and smelling and tasting
Yes,
and so on.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I found that really interesting because it kind of connects all the senses. Like,
Mm,
and for example, I mean, if I see the color like of a very intense red, or I don't know, the taste of a bitter lemon, bitter orange, or like certain sounds of a trumpet. Like, of course, it's not, it's just an association done by the mind, maybe, but still there is some kind of, I mean, talking
yes.
about psychedelics also, that sometimes when you take real high doses, you can smell
A
sounds
color.
or
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
those kind of things. So I wouldn't
Mm,
maybe say that the senses that there is no difference, but I mean, I would not know. Maybe there is no difference,
Mm,
but I could
mm.
not experience that. But I would say that it's like interwoven or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So when in the beginning, when you're looking at and seeing shapes and colors, it's still they're out there and not, and I'm in here, so to speak. You know, so
Uh,
it's still like there's that thing. But at a certain level, there is not the seeing of the colors, but the
uh,
experiencing of something. And that experiencing is in you. It's not out there.
Mm.
It's evoked in you by what it is you're looking at in this case. And that's when you get into your internal experience of that,
mm,
that's when the senses start to merge and
mm.
you have, you know, that synesthesia.
Yeah. There, I don't know because there was like a moment when I had my eyes closed and there were like some, I don't know, colors like or darkness in front of the closed eyes.
Hmm.
And at the same time, like my window was open and there were like some insects chirping at the same. It was like this rhythm.
Hmm. Hmm. And they were
And
affecting the sound of the insects were affecting the colors.
yes, and it was kind of um, for a moment there was not a separation between like sounds or the rest of
Mm,
the sensations. It was just
mm,
like I mean, for example, when you look at something special, then there is like this pointed uh, concentration or something, but you can also like not fix anything, and then it's like just a hole, but
hmm,
no fixed point anywhere. And it was like this, but including like all different kinds of senses
mm,
somehow. But it was very enjoyable. It was like
mm.
lovely, really.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Visiting a different world.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah,
In well, a different world. I mean, it's like
yeah,
I think the thought world is the different world actually, and
yeah,
that's like the thing that is here.
yeah. Mhm. It's uncharted and immense.
But
Not
it's
unlike how you imagine it might be flying off in a spaceship and visiting a physical different world. You know, that everything is so new that nothing means anything anymore. It is
mm,
just experience. Yeah.
and the thing is, it's like it's so simple, but most of the time you're just like somewhere else. And
Yeah. Yeah.
although it's
Yeah.
actually available all the time,
Yep.
but
Yeah. And
yeah.
you can see why it's not visited and not acknowledged by most people. You know, like it's you go, well, what's the point of it? Well, does
Mm,
it have to have a point? You know, so people who refuse to acknowledge it are kind of focused on something else altogether. You know, so just recognizing the possibility of something like that
mm.
opens up everything. It becomes a whole possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm spending most of my time alone, but like when I visited my friend in Berlin, I just noticed that she was all the time evaluating things like, ah, that's nice. No, I don't like that. That's tasty.
Mm,
And
mm.
you know,
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
and then having
Wow.
opinions and idiosyncrasies and
Hmm.
like, and I think, I mean, I know that because I also have this conditioning of like being
Mm.
hyper individualist and like having
Yeah,
very
yeah.
explicit tastes and so on, you know, like and just I don't like this word and
Mm, mm.
things like that. But
Yeah, you can see it's a bit
now
like
I'm
Pluto's
kind of
cave, you know? Yeah.
yeah, now I'm kind of ex because I mean we learn that because someone who doesn't do that is supposed to be a person without character or something, you know? Like
Okay, yeah, yeah.
you're not really a very complex personality
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't have this super complicated system of what you like and what you don't
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
And then I what I was really experiencing was like this direct experience is so rich in itself, and then when the thinking comes, it loses this
Yes.
richness, kind of.
Yeah. It
It's
pulls
like
it back
so
to
much
two-dimensional or something. Yeah.
so like thinking doesn't really add any richness to the experience.
Mm,
It
mm.
rather like narrows it
Yes. Yes,
totally.
that's right. Yeah, as I say, I keep having this image of like living in a tunnel. You know, it's
Mm.
just very limited. Yeah. But that works for people, even though
Yeah,
it's not
because
very enriching.
yeah,
Mm.
because people would, I mean, if I told people that it's enriching to stare at the wallpaper,
Yeah. They think you're mad.
people,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
would. Hmm,
Mm.
strange hobby. Yeah.
So, oh,
Mm,
excuse me. I love that you're on this discovery journey. Yeah.
mm,
And I was thinking, I had a conversation with somebody earlier tonight about artificial intelligence, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how true it might be. It's just a fantasy, but when the time comes that a large part of the, I suppose you'd call it the industrial world, is using AI, which is so much cheaper than paying people,
mm.
there'll be a lot of people out of work, and that
Yeah.
we have to get to that place where we have a universal basic income. And
Mm.
that will be then like your situation. People will be going, well, if I'm not going to spend all my time at work or at the pub recovering from work, I'm going to be creative. I'm going to learn an
Mm,
instrument. I'm going to learn a language. I'm going to whatever, you know.
mm,
And so after the initial scare of it, I think, there'll be a lot of really good stuff will come out of it.
mm. Yeah, something that, I mean, I, it's like more or less like 4 hours or something that I'm working at the moment. But in the
Yeah,
beginning, I noticed that there was like this conditioning coming in,
yeah,
like,
to do a whole
no,
day.
but it does have to feel like very
Yeah, yeah,
exhausting to be real work. And then
yeah.
I kind
Well,
of
that's right. So
dismantled
we
this
change work
thing.
into play,
Yeah,
and play is creative and more productive than work.
yeah.
Mm. Yeah, good one.
But then, um, yeah, I mean, I would actually prefer to do it without um, earning money with it. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
need
me
to
too. I
pay
get
my
that.
bills.
Yeah, yeah.
But because like it feels a bit cringe to do those videos knowing that it's kind of an advertisement for earning
Mm,
money or something. It would feel much more authentic without having that in mind. I mean, I try to not think about that at the moment,
mm.
but
That's a
it
tricky one,
is
and
like,
and it's something I experience myself.
hmm,
I, I, I'm pleased to see money when it comes in, but I'm not doing
hmm,
anything for money.
hmm,
So people that pay me money get the same as people that don't pay me money. So
Mm,
it's like, it's an interesting one, and it changes everything. It changes the way things are done. It changes what it's about. Everything is different when we're
mm,
doing it for itself, for the sake of itself, not for the sake of earning money. Yeah.
yeah, and then also like this, I think, yeah, there's something that I still can't get. I mean, it is still a bit in my mind, and it's like,
Oh, it's deeply ingrained.
people
Yeah.
are paying money for that, so it has to have
Yeah.
a good quality, and like it's not just having a nice talk and having a
Yeah.
cup of tea with someone, but I think it would be much more helpful if it
Yeah.
was,
Mm. Yeah,
if
I
it was
agree,
just.
But and what I'm discovering is money comes in anyway.
Mm,
People join Substack and pay me money. So
mm,
I actually got $94 came in today. And
uh-huh,
I don't even know where it came from. People in
mm,
Substack, but I
uh-huh,
don't know where, I don't know why. I mean, I'm not offering anything for money, but some
mm,
people feel that they're getting good value out of it. Some people will pay me a bit of money because they think that the Discover Awakening bot is useful, and they would, so on. So it
mm,
happens. It happens. But
yeah,
luckily, I'm on a pension, so I even though it's
mm,
not great, I can survive on that. So I don't need
mm.
that extra money. But it's really good and helpful when it does come in. But it doesn't change the way I work.
Yeah, at the same time, um, at the moment, I really feel like, and if it doesn't work, and if I can't pay my rent anymore, then I will just
Yeah. Well,
do
luckily
something
you've got that
else.
that other thing. Yeah, that's
Then
right.
that's going to be an opportunity to explore something different. So,
Yep. Yep. And it will come. Yeah.
mm,
Because you're open, because you're relaxed, you're much more likely to see what opportunities turn up.
mm.
Mm.
Yeah, I noticed that actually there is no real fear. I'm not having any fear. The only thing that there could be is like preferences or something.
Mm. Mm.
I'd prefer things to be like this or that, but that's not really something that
Yeah.
makes
And
me
even that's a
freak out
discovery
anymore.
too. You go,
Yeah.
well, I always used to not prefer it that way, but actually it's rather interesting. Yeah.
But then the interesting thing is that my preferences are in themselves ambivalent. So it's like, okay, it could be that or this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Well, I'm going to call it a night and go and spend some
Okay.
time with my wife. Yeah.
Thank you, Vince. Good
Thank
night.
you. Yeah. Good to hear.